I bet if you were to ask 100 NFL fans who the best QB in the league is, at least 90 of them will say it's Patrick Mahomes. It's rare for someone to step into a starting job and have as much success as Mahomes has had. He has won an astounding 50 games as a starter in 63 tries. But sprinkled in with the success is some failure. It's rare for Mahomes, but when he struggles, it makes headlines. In this video, I'm going to be diving deep into the worst game so far in Patrick Mahomes' career. Just like my Ramsey video, this was an incredibly hard one to make. Mahomes has been so good in such a short amount of time, I'm surprised I was even able to find 4 games where he struggled. And this video would have been a lot harder to make had it been last year. But luckily for me, and unfortunately for Mahomes, he has had some really bad games this past year, which makes up half of this list. But number 4 is going to come from his first year as a starter in 2018, and that's when he went up against the Jaguars. Now, while the Jaguars were a very bad team in 2018, finishing just 5-11, their defensive success from 2017 carried over into that year. They finished the season allowing just 19.8 points per game. While the Chiefs were able to drop 30 on them and get the win in this game, it was in spite of their future MVP quarterback. Firstly, let me set the stage for Mahomes here. Going into this game, Mahomes has played near perfectly. Through the first 4 games, he had 14 touchdowns to 0. Yes, 0 interceptions, along with throwing for exactly 300 yards per game. All of this while completing upwards of 65% of his passes and only being sacked 5 times. Mahomes had set himself a high bar and he did not live up to it in this game. Showtime struggled a lot. While he was able to muster up 313 yards, he completed less than 60% of his passes, along with throwing 2 interceptions. All of that combined for a passer rating of 62.7. Now, it wasn't all bad for Mahomes. He did have a rushing touchdown early on that got the scoring starter for KC, and he did play well enough to put Harrison Butker in field goal range 3 times, along with allowing Kareem Hunt to get a rushing touchdown. Mahomes actually didn't have a lot of work to do in this game since the offense got the ball in great starting field position due to a couple of Blake Bortles interceptions. Now, the reason I have this at number 4 is because of A, this was still his first full season as a starter. While he dominated in the games before the Jags, he was still very new to being a starting quarterback at the time. And B, the Jaguars were a really good defensive team. Had this been the 2020 or 2021 Jags who picked him off twice and not allowing him to throw a touchdown, then this would have been higher up on the list. Number 3 is going to be Super Bowl 55. Now, yes, I know the Chiefs had essentially a backup offensive line protecting Mahomes that game, but I don't think it's unfair to say that he played bad individually also. While the offensive line was a huge factor in how poorly Mahomes played in the big game, there have been plenty of quarterbacks who have been successful behind a bad offensive line, mainly Russell Wilson. Now, to be fair, these quarterbacks have been able to adapt their play over time to get used to having pressure 24/7, and Mahomes didn't have that luxury. But even on plays where he wasn't pressured, he was just playing sloppy. When the nightmare was over for Mahomes, he finished with 253 yards, 0 passing touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. He also hardly completed over half of his passes and finished with a passer rating of 52, the lowest in his career for a single game. Now, once again, he had a very bad offensive line in this game, but this is Patrick Mahomes we are talking about. He is the best quarterback in the league, and he has expectations of how he should play, even with his offensive line performing poorly. The last 2 games are both going to be from this season, with number 2 being week 13 against the Denver Broncos. Now, this is actually the game with his lowest career passer rating in the regular season, finishing with a measly 57.3. Now, if you remember, there was a point earlier in the season where the Chiefs and Mahomes were struggling horribly, but this game came after that. This performance was in the middle of an 8-game win streak for KC. It also didn't help that this horrible performance was on national TV in primetime for the entire country to see. Mahomes did not have his best game against the Broncos in this one. He finished completing hardly 50% of his passes, along with a cowardly 184 yards and an interception. The Chiefs' offensive line actually held up nicely against the Broncos, allowing only 1 sack and 9 hurries, leaving a lot of the struggles in the hands of Mahomes. Now, the Chiefs did have 4 drops in this game, which definitely did affect the performance of Mahomes, but according to Pro Football Reference, over a quarter of his passes were deemed bad passes, which your receivers aren't responsible for. Now, while this game did generate his lowest passer rating in the regular season, it's not number 1 for a couple of reasons. A, the Chiefs still won the game. B, he did have a rushing touchdown. C, the Broncos defense was really good this past year. And D, he contributed enough to have Harrison Butker do his duty and kick 3 field goals. Now, he did have some good field position to start off since the Broncos turned the ball over a couple of times, but there were 3 drives before the 4th quarter in which the Chiefs couldn't even get 20 yards, and Patrick Mahomes was of no help on those drives. And finally, the worst game Patrick Mahomes has ever played in his career, Week 7 of the 2021 season against the Tennessee Titans. Not only was this an embarrassing performance for Mahomes, but it left a lot of the NFL questioning the quality of him and the Chiefs. Now, luckily for KC, they ended up winning 8 straight after this and made it to the AFC Championship game. But man, if you were to tell NFL fans that would happen after this performance, I don't think they would have believed you. This game made the Chiefs look worse than the Jaguars that year. They were only able to put up 3 points against the Titans, and Mahomes played like garbage. In fact, it got so bad for him that they pulled him for Chad Henne 3/4 of the way through. Through Casey's first 4 drives of the game, they averaged just 4 plays per drive. It was horrible for Kansas City. Mahomes finished the game passing for 206 yards with 57% of his passes being completed, along with 0 touchdowns and an interception, plus 2 fumbles with one of them being lost, and a total passer rating of 62.3. Now, this gets the number 1 spot on the list for a couple of reasons. A, the Chiefs were only able to put up 3 points and they lost the game, but also this game was so much more embarrassing than the other performances on this list. Like, this game had people seriously questioning how good the Chiefs and Mahomes really were. This was the cherry on top of a horrible start for the Chiefs in 2021. They started 3-4 with their 3 wins coming against subpar teams and their 4 losses coming against some fairly good teams. This was legitimately the worst that we have ever seen Patrick Mahomes play, and it led a lot of people to assume that this was going to be a down year for the Chiefs. But luckily for Mahomes and the team, this was the game that turned around KC's season. They won all but one of their remaining games in the regular season and made it all the way to the AFC title game. Now, you could make the argument that since this game turned the season around for the Chiefs, it could be higher, but this was such an embarrassing game from Patrick Mahomes that it had to be number 1 on the list. So that's it for today's video. Make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button. It goes a long way towards supporting me and this channel, and I appreciate every single one of you guys. Also, make sure you check out all my other social media links listed down in the description below. I have an Instagram, a TikTok, and a Twitter. So thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.